Welcome to selfdiscoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. I'm your host, Sara Troy, and my guest today is Ivana Chubbuck. We're going to be talking about the power of the actor. The renowned acting teacher and best-selling author Ivana Chubbuck, updated edition of her book, The Power of the Actor, published April 29th. Ivana speaks to everyone who is serious about overcoming hurdles, hardships, inner demons to achieve their goals. Ivana will share with us the tools and the exercises to turn conflicts, traumas, insecurities, fears, shame into positive forces and fuel achievement with the focus on winning. What do Halle Berry, Beyonce, Gal Gadot, Charlize Theron, Brad Pitt, Sylvester Stallone, Eva Mendes, Shia LaBeouf have in common besides fame and fortune? They can all credit a significant part of their skills to acting teacher Ivana Chubbuck. So the power of the actor is that revolutionary guide to unlock the transformative. In addition to the star-studded stories, the power of the actor offers a panoramic map for anyone serious about professional transformation. Her dynamic 12-step approach, actors, writers, directors, how to unlock emotional depth and create performances that ring with authenticity. It's also for anyone who's serious about overcoming those hurdles, hardships, inner demons to achieve their goals. We all have those little inner demons, don't we? You know, that sometimes whisper and sometimes they shout. But it doesn't matter how rich, fame, or fortune you are. Everybody carries them around on one shoulder or the other, don't they? Welcome to the show, love.
Well, thank you. That was a beautiful introduction.
And folks, yes, I have a cold. I am not sounding myself today, so please do forgive that. Um, the power of the actor, I mean, when we look at actor, you know, people think fame and fortune, and but they don't realize how powerful the actor is in the relaying of a story. They can play a part and they can play a story, but if they themselves don't resonate or relate or feel that part, they can't bring off themselves. And it's only when they bring off themselves in that role that we truly do buy them.
Well, I think more importantly, life is about a bunch of choices, then
Mm-hmm.
script analysis. And the idea is you can take a character that, because all drama, the same thing with comedy, there's always something about someone has hit bottom and they need to change their world
Mm-hmm.
in some way. So actors will find a way to get into those like really deep, dark places. But the problem is a lot of techniques are about sitting in those deep, dark places.
Mm,
And then it becomes kind of uncomfortable for the actor. It's also uncomfortable for the audience to watch somebody who's feeling sorry for themselves, who's
mm,
not doing anything about it, and
right.
kind of seeing it as a way to be defeated and self-destructive. So I always say the same information can be used as a choice to actually say, I'm going to win in spite of and because of that
Mm,
insecurities, fears, your demons. And that because your pain is a very powerful fuel to overcome and win with. And so it's a choice to make it like I have this pain as the character, and then I say, okay, how does this character need to overcome that pain? How are they going to make choices in their work that's going to allow them to at least make the journey to attempt to do so? I always say a winner is a winner not because they've won anything, but because they attempt to do so. And the more you attempt to do so, the bigger winner that you are. And
yeah.
example of Rocky, which is everybody remembers the original
Yes.
Rocky, is that he won the bout at the end of the movie, but he did not. he actually lost, but because his need to win was so strong and to overcome all the obstacles and pain of his life, to accomplish that, his dream of being a boxer.
Mm.
We never remember, nobody remembers that it was a lost fight, but the truth is he was a winner. And that's why it
Because
was,
of resilience and his tenacity and his push through. And so he won the hearts of the people,
yeah,
right?
it became an iconic movie. That
Mm.
a guy who said, I'm going to write a movie. Nobody knows who I am, but
Mm.
I'm going to put that out there. And then, I mean, nobody at the time ever got this. He was the one that started this happening. But he said to people, everybody wanted to buy it. It was a great script. They wanted to buy it, but he said, you can't buy it without me starring in it.
Mm.
Finally found somebody that said, okay, we like the script that much. We're willing to take the unknown guy. And see, but that's the path of what I ask the characters to do
Mm.
in there if I'm working with a writer, direct it that way. Because life is all about choices. And the choice of least resistance is to give up, is to
Mm.
just, is what it is. The path of most resistance is the one where you have to like fight to get what you want, but you're exploring solution, resolution, involvement, a catharsis is what we were trying to find, and it's a hard road. But when
Mm.
you find yourself to the other side of that road, what happens is it's a very satisfying journey for you and the people that are watching it. Also, I also tell my actors, writers, and directors that you have a pulpit that nobody else has because everybody, it's like religion has a certain amount of people.
Yeah.
Of course, religion has its own thing. And in terms of ideologies, political ideologies, that's still a small portion of people. The vast amount of people, even the poorest people, have a television set. So
Mm.
the thing is,
Mm-hmm.
we have we have a pulpit that is profound. And
Yes.
our job, it's our obligation as artists with a pulpit that is so huge that we can actually say through our choices as the character or through the writing or directing that these people are willing to do anything to overcome their situations with using their demons as opposed to
Yeah.
negating that they exist.
Yes.
Using my demons because they're powerful, but I'm using
Yeah.
them to gain as opposed to to self-destruct. And so the idea is that those choices have to be made in the work because all script analysis is choices. And you have to make the choices that will allow people to go, I want that person to win and to root for them to win. And then we look at those people, say that person has the same issues that I have, and they're doing something about it. Maybe so can I. And it
Exactly.
gives subliminal hope to your viewers. And again, it's subliminal, but the point is it's still very, very effective, whether you know that it's happening or not. And I
Yeah.
find when I work with anybody, and with using this, that the technique is the philosophy is like as opposed to using your pain to self-destruct with and have shame, is to rather use it to construct and to create a beautiful picture with it, and to give people hope. And so as long as we have that with the audience is watching this, what we're getting is so much of how it bleeds into our own life. My actors, my directors, it changes their lives.
Yes.
Use this for their for it bleeds into their personal lives,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm.
Uh, and because they say this feels so good when I'm doing it as the character, and it finds its way to like it's like you know what this worked for my character, so I'm going to do this in my real life.
Mm-hmm.
So there's actually a really great story. I know I go on. I do have a mouth that likes to talk. I think the main thing is I love to inspire people. That's really important because my pain. I mean, I grew up in a very kind of violent. My mother was mentally ill and a hoarder, but she was also very physically and emotionally violent. But because she was mentally ill, we never knew when it was going to happen.
Right.
So the idea of me needing something like this was how it was born.
Mhm.
So things that are great are born of pain. Things that have like that are affecting the rest of I have like my book's in 23 languages, and and a lot of places that are very oppressed countries.
Yes.
And I get these emails that are wonderful emails saying, this book has helped me out. And
Mm.
they're not actors. They're not even in
Right.
the human industry. They're saying, because I feel like this is a good way to think about life.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's been like it's very I love the fact that I've affected so many people in different cultures, different countries. I have schools all over the world that are helping on their feet doing it. But the book itself, and especially the new one, because it's 20 years, it's 20-year anniversary too. And in 20 years, I've learned a lot from
Yes.
traveling all over the world to find out that human beings are human beings are human beings. And we do not have a difference in terms of what our issues are, and our demons are very, very similar. That's why
Yeah.
a great novel will stand the test of time wherever it
Hmm. Hmm.
and so the thing is, I've learned a lot from knowing that. I went to school with understanding. I studied behavioral science and um, psychology as a science, and cultural anthropology, which is a science. But the
Hmm.
point is, it helps me to understand what people do, because we're trying to recreate real people. But real people, in my philosophy and my technique, trying to overcome, not just accept.
Suppress. Yeah, or just accept. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Or accept is like that's what it is. It is.
Hmm.
I hate that. People say it is what it is. It's like, no, it is something that you can do something about. We have the power. I
We
said,
do.
we
Mm.
have the power. Let's make empowered choices in our life.
Mm.
But they're based in, I always say that we understand our power when we understand our powerlessness.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, so if we don't understand how powerless we are, so that that requires a solution to get to our power.
Yeah.
So we have to the yin yang of life. You have to understand the dark to understand the light. So you have to understand the light to understand the dark. It's a combo platter of it.
Right. Exactly. There
Yeah.
is no black and white. There's always, the yin and the yang. Everything you're saying is kind of. For 13 years, I've been doing podcasting, and I've heard some extraordinary, extraordinary stories of people of what they've had to go through in life, which no human being should ever have to go through. Some just horrific things, but they made a choice. At some point, they stopped being the victim and said, "This happened to me, but now what do I make it happen for me?" And they made a choice to go through the process of their own healing, of their own self discovery. And they've then become that beacon of inspiration and invitation to other people because of where they are now. And that really, every single one of us has a story, whether it's a bumpy road, rocky road, roller coaster, or,
Something.
out of this world type thing, right? We all go through something. But when we hear something or we're inspired by somebody's journey, and we look at them, and especially when you look at actors and stars, everybody assumes they've got everything. They've got everything together, fame and fortune. Most of the time, they're extremely flawed, right? And perhaps even more so than most people. But it's how they use that in their artistry, not only to heal themselves, but become the healers of others through the storytelling.
Absolutely. And the thing, but I always tell people, embrace your flaws,
Yes,
because what makes us special is our flaws. And it creates unique and quirky behavior and mannerisms that are more interesting than watching someone be confident. It's like if I watch somebody on the screen or stage and they just seem to have it together, it's like that's not a very particularly interesting journey. But to watch someone who's hype. like flaws for days,
Mm,
embracing their flaws. That makes them, that's who I am. And I embrace that. And that's what I love about myself because I like in terms of myself, I'm highly neurotic. I'm extremely paranoid. And if someone doesn't answer like a text from me, I think they hate me. I mean, I have been known to actually respond back. I would respond with no response saying, did I do something wrong?
hmm
I do. I don't remember doing anything, but if I did, please tell me because
mm,
I always get back something saying, "What are you talking about? I
mm.
was just busy," you know. So it's like,
Yes.
and the point is, it doesn't stop me from continuing to feel paranoid, and I have lots of other things that I could like have fun talking about. But the point is, I don't want to get rid of them. It's who I am,
Exactly.
and so it's
It's
like,
understanding them. I recently did a great show with Jerry Gariadano on your 7 words, 7 words that are established between the ages of 3 and 6, and they become the words that kind of become the driver's seat in your life. And until we understand what these words are, and then we can change the definition of them. They're still those words, but how we use those words, become our empowerment. But there's also a beautiful word which I was given a few years ago, and I just so resonate with flawsome. Flawsome.
that.
Being being awesome in your flaws.
Oh,
Flawsome.
okay, I get it.
Right. And it's like I wouldn't be Sarah if I wasn't this quirky, odd creature that not many people get. But that's who I am. I spent too many years of my life trying to be what everybody wanted me to be, only to let myself down. And it's like when we embrace who we are, why we are, and what we are. And yes, if we've got some edges that need to be smoothed out, then obviously. But why do we have to apologize all the time for our flawsomeness, our quirks?
Yeah, well, in the arts, it's like it really is about two plus two equals orange. So the idea is it's not a concept the artist really is. People who are in the arts have to think in terms of that there is no boundaries. We color outside the lines.
What lines? Yeah.
What lines? And it's like what we're doing is always trying to like find a way to create, colors and hills and valleys and all the kinds of things that create images that to tell the story from a unique perspective.
hmm
And you can't have a unique perspective if we're trying to people please.
Exactly.
Well, I thought
Exactly.
it was paper pleasing because we use scripts. And
Uh-huh.
so I said, paper pleasing is like saying, well, the producer wants me to do this because it's written in the
hmm
script this way. I said, I guarantee you, if you do that in an audition, you will not get the job. They want to see someone plump it out in a way that brings your uniqueness into it.
Identify, be it. Yeah.
Well, not just be it, because if you happen to be a very depressed person, I don't want you to be it. You know,
No, no.
so what I want to see is like some
Identify, perhaps.
But I want to say your unique issues come to bear, and you're trying to be proactively overcome
hmm
using your issues.
hmm
And also, I say always I try to win in spite of them because of your issues. So what they want to see is someone plump it out with the uniqueness that everybody is. Everybody's
Yeah.
I have 7 brothers and sisters, and we're all different, and we all come from the same parents. So it's like it's not because of, we really do. We're very, very different, and and our priorities are, it's amazing. I think that's a great story because the idea is coming from the same parents, you'd assume we all kind of have similar ideals about things, and we don't, and that's
hmm
what makes us, as all human beings, are unique. So they're looking for somebody who's not going to read the page and paper please and go like, oh, they want this, this, and this. And they say, how do I go after my objective? Which
hmm
I want you to prove you can love me without hurting me. And so, well, how do I go after something like that? Who do I need that from the most? When you start to personalize. And then what are the dynamics, the details of why I feel that particular person, the events and the issues of that relationship that I can color each word, each sentence between the lines
hmm
how we listen, because we listen in our own worlds, our own, like when I'm talking about my abusive mother, you're not thinking about what does my mother look like, you're thinking about whatever your abuser was.
Hmm.
And so, and how to just bring that to bear with behaviors and those kinds of things, but well, isn't necessarily something that's on the page. And so there was someone who was talking about why the director of I think it was Heath Ledger doing I think the Joker, and he said the reason why he cast him was because he didn't follow any of the directions.
Uh,
Well, he did a dialogue. He didn't
you're
change
right.
the dialogue,
Mm,
but he didn't follow what so many actors do make the mistake of. Well, I think this is what they want, so that's what I'm going to give them.
mm.
No, they want to see something that's going to be special and unique.
Your interpretation coming from you, how you feel about the character. What does the part speak to you on? Yeah.
How do you win? It's
Yeah.
about winning and losing. So how do you go after winning? How do you
Yeah.
make and when you lose, because you have to, in order to you go after winning, there has to be possibility of failure, right?
Hmm.
That's what makes like if you end up winning or losing at the end, the journey is very interesting because you could fail at any time. And so putting all this stuff in, we're at the edge of our seats watching this performance, whether it's from a casting point of view or from a point of view of just watching, a theater or a film, is that we're watching at the edge of our seats in the same way that a rooting section in sports watches a team.
Yes. Yes.
I would say the win-lose thing is most, well, not most, I don't know of any other acting technique that says you need to win. You
Mm.
got to put the win factor in there because because this is the science of that. There's proof that early man, before he even became upright, was played games of sport and also games of contest, and they have archaeological proof of that, and that's millions of years ago.
Yeah.
Now, theater was born 2,000 years ago in ancient Greece. So we're doing the math here, and
Hmm.
says that winning is a more important primal need to go after, and when we're trying to recreate the human experience, than just feeling emotions.
Hmm. Hmm. I think that, obviously when it comes to winning, yes, there's, Golden Globes and there's Oscars and there's all of that. But I think an
Okay.
actor, when an actor feels I've won at this part, this part is me, when they feel they've won at it, when they feel, and the reaction to that part, a reaction to what they've played from the public. It's not about the awards. It's about how do people resonate with that role you played? Who has it touched? Who has it
Well,
shaken up?
here's the thing: what people don't realize is that great actors really don't care about the awards.
Mm,
The awards don't mean anything. I don't watch them. And most people I know, and I work with a lot of star actors, they don't watch them. They
hmm.
know because sometimes it's like sometimes you have to network and remember me
Yeah,
and around kind of thing. But it's networking. It's not because
yeah,
I can't wait to go to the awards. It's really a job. Think of it as
yeah.
um, and uh, and so it's not about that. It's about really doing like exploring your own personal capacity for greatness.
Hmm.
It's not, it's like I want to do like the most amazing, I want to explore something I've never explored before. When I work with people, I said, let's take this part, this one, let's do something entirely different than we did the last time. And I would say that for each time we work together. We're to do something what are you going through right now? And let's try to explore change and resolution and whatever you're personally going through right now, put it into the script as the character. So you're resolving it as you're playing the part.
Yeah.
So every time you shoot a scene, you're exploring change and growth and catharsis. And to get to the other side, so you can move on. And we use it in the work. And it is very satisfying for the actor, but also for their co-stars, for the director,
Mm,
the lighting people. It's inspirational. It's,
yes.
everybody wants to create you have this need to like just to have the journey of like how do I become better than I was in the last thing. It's always
Right.
upping your game, and like I got an email earlier today because we changed some of the overall changed the overall objective of this movie he's starring in, and it was like, because he said the other was just not pushing my buttons in a way that I feel like I do a good job with it, but I won't feel like I'm doing something extraordinary.
Hmm.
So we came up together with another one that, and he sent me an email saying it's starting all kinds of inspired thought. Here I can be thinking about this. This is this way I can have. I have this moment here where I could use this. And he said it's just opening up the door for the things I've never
Hmm.
done before. And so that's what a true art
Yeah,
does. And that's what I mean by winning. It's not winning per se.
exactly.
It's
Exactly. And it's also that vulnerability, right? It's like, an actor that may be known for their beauty, willing to be kind of down in the ugly cry and, bear it all. And you could still see the beauty in the person, even in their moment of despair on screen. And I think that's, we look at so many actors and actresses, and for a long time it was how perfectly they looked and how perfectly they presented and all the turmoil that they went on in their lives. When it came on, there was the facade. We're seeing a change in that now, where the actors are coming on and openly speaking to their battles, openly speaking to the demons that chase them and what motivates them or their own insecurities. And that's given permission to the audience that you can be flawed and still beautiful and talented and successful as well. And that, part of that being flawsome is a part of the journey into becoming. And I think that vulnerability, no, everybody's so scared of being vulnerable, but when you're truly and utterly vulnerable, that's when you're really seen.
It's also you want people. I call it bravery. It
Mm,
takes a lot of bravery to be vulnerable, to really expose your soft underbelly
right.
in your work. I don't think people should be running around crying on people's shoulders all the time.
Exactly. Yes, not that kind of vulnerability.
Vulnerability of like it's okay for me to expose this in my attempt to overcome whatever is facing you. And it's brave to do so. And
Yes,
bravery, courage is sexy,
it is.
very
It
attractive.
is.
So it's like to me, I'm trying to build a courageous group of people, and through the book, through my technique, through my classes and my classes that I am currently I have a teacher trainee who's going to be tested for his final test. But he's going to be taking care of the Arabic nations, and my book's coming out in Arabic. Um,
Nice.
and so that's it's the first time that like my footprint is in that area. 'Cause
You're right.
it's been in Israel, but other places in the Middle East, but not in the Arabic country. So I'm very excited about that. But that, the idea is that everybody has their own version of oppression, right?
Mm,
Could be ones that are like religiously based, and there's ones that are politically based, and there's just but oppression walks with us because if you have the capacity to oppress and people will accept that oppression, you will happen. It's just history. Mankind is the followers, and then there's the leaders. And sometimes people abuse their leadership, and sometimes people like Gandhi made it to
mm,
that was a wonderful thing. But people, if you say the right things, they will follow. And
mm.
hopefully, the person is more a Gandhi type person than a
Yes.
Hitler type person. So, but there's also like in terms of exploring. This is the interesting thing about being in these arts is that you're going to play a bad guy. You're going to play a killer. You're going to play, and those are really the most interesting parts because they're so
Yes.
layered. Because there's always righteous reasons for evil behavior. It's just
Mm,
psychology, right? They don't think they're doing anything wrong. They're solving something by killing
yeah.
people. What they're doing, and by figuring out, like if you just look at, and I'm not supporting Hitler at all, I'm a Jewish, so my family is Holocaust survivors, but it's like Hitler had a horrible childhood. And
Yeah.
his childhood was he was physically abused, but like where his male parts were put, lye was put on it. He was verbally abused, physically abused in tragic, tragic ways, and he thought his art was going to be the fixer. So he went
Mm,
to the art school, and where he's from in Austria, and uh, and they said to him, "You're one of the least talented people we've ever seen." So that dream was dashed. So he found another way to be empowered. It turned out to be a very bad and horrible
mm,
way, but it was in his head, people loved him.
exactly.
And they did, a lot of people did. You know, they were quite loyal to him, and he got a lot of joy out of that because he lived a life of being so tragically abused and then dreams dashed that it was like it just his journey makes sense. But it
Mm,
also makes sense that he could have gone the righteous path too.
exactly. Choice again, right?
And he's
Choice.
also responding to like, I'm going to find my empowerment and my emboldenment through because it was so awfully taken away from me. So if you're going to play someone like that, you have to find the backstory, like a profiling backstory for that person, that so that you have a righteousness to become that person. We all have that little fraction of us that are the of the little fraction of us that want to do very horrible damage to other people. Now, what we have to do is take that fraction and turn it to a whole to be able to play this character with all the ability, the humanity without the cartoon version, but
Right.
humanity of really truly what makes these people tick. And I always use the example of this. Everybody's had the experience of being on a tall building overlooking when you're on the outside having that momentary second, maybe 2 seconds thinking of, God, if I just push that person next to me over the edge,
Mm,
and you go, oh, I can't believe I was thinking that.
yeah,
But you had that thought. So
exactly.
we have it in we have the capacity,
We do.
you know, and we always,
It is the humility, the humanity of whether we go through it. But you know, an awful lot of actors, they love playing the villain because they know they could never be the villain. So this is the way to be the villain without becoming the villain. Um, and very often say that it's so much more satisfying than some of the other parts.
well, it is because there's just more layers to creating a true
Mm,
person that does this sort of thing. But I also tell people when they're playing the hero or the saint, find out what makes them a villain somewhere inside of them. I'm going to give you an example. Joan of Arc. Now, Joan of Arc
mm,
could be played, I'm talking to God and I really believe in that, and that's that. Or someone who is so needy of people adoring them and thinking of them as close to God and speaking to God,
mm,
that they're willing to die a most horrible death to
yeah,
have it, which is being burned at the stake. It's one of the worst deaths you can.
yeah.
And so that I want it that badly that I'm willing to, and I'm so, because of past experience of feeling like so diminished and abused, that I just need that kind of adoration. And that's more interesting Joan of Arc for me to watch.
Mm,
And
mm,
so you have to find the darkness in the hero, and you have to find the righteousness in the villain. And it's very, very fascinating to do that because you have to really look at profiling. You have to look at
yes.
what truly makes, in terms of the science of psychology, truly makes a person become this. Or if you play someone with a mental illness, why did this mental illness happen? I call it the
Mm,
power of why. Because
hmm.
why things happen is more interesting than what happened.
Yes. There's a brilliant show on right now called Adolescence out of England. It's a true story of a young boy that kills this young girl. And there's only 4 episodes, but each episode is from a different perspective. The cops that arrest him, you know, the school and the teachings, the parents, and then the kid himself, who is then interviewed by a psychologist. Brilliant acting of this young kid. And it's always that fine line because he always protested he didn't do anything wrong,
Exactly.
right? And until he eventually did. And this is, I think, where the true art comes out in artistry of the actor. And this one is a young one of how to play that role without going over the edge, without overplaying it, but playing it in a way that that there must be something inside of him that he brings out and just takes to the edge without going over.
Well, from a kid's point of view, my daughter teaches kids, so it's like she knows.
They're incredible.
Well, the problem is that I don't want to screw with their minds. I'm afraid that some of the things that I say, because I understand adult thinking, and there's sometimes you cross lines,
Mm,
kids, and mess with their heads, and I just don't want to ever do that with anybody. But adults, because what I teach is so science driven, you kind of have to understand that. And also, we have to understand that we have problems with certain people that we love, but it doesn't mean we don't like them.
exactly.
So it's like the idea is they're flawed too. And
Yeah.
maybe some of those flaws don't make sense to who you are as a person that causes you pain. But the point is if we're trying to do something to overcome it, everything I do is about spinning everything. Everything can be spun. I call it pain equals prosperity. And so how do we make pain equal prosperity? Well, there's the system, it's a 12-step system. That's the part of the book, which is like having to spin things. I can take anything and say, see the worst that could be the case or the best that could be the case out of it.
Mm,
Same exact thing. And it's kind of a concept in advertising, right? It's called doing the spin. And so we want to be able to like make choices that will spin it to a positive, um, even if you're playing someone that dies,
mm,
it's like, how is that your decision?
mm.
That's something you wanted to do. And I call it energy kills because what we're going to do is create a situation where I want to kill off something in myself that is not
Yes.
benefiting me. So
Right.
the person I had a girl who was playing someone who had to get murdered, and I have a thing called emotional diaries that help us figure out what we really feel inside. And it's in the book too, like how to do one that gets in 5 minutes, you'll understand a lot of subconscious feelings that you truly have. The real feelings are in your subconscious. And what came up in the diary was the person that she needed to have kill her, but not kill,
Mm,
but kill off the energy that she.
yeah.
Well, so it came up was her mother, who's very fearful. Everything is about fear, and she's so afraid to do anything. And this girl had a lot of fear, so she needed the person who gave her the fear to kill off the fear in her.
Ah,
So
yeah.
she wanting it. She was making the guy triggering him to do, I mean, this is acting,
Yes.
triggering him to want to do this so she could be free of the fear. And so it became really profound.
Yes.
Like it's still scary because we still have the survivor's instinct, but it was also like satisfying. And to watch it, you were like, it was like so
Mm,
amazing. I did a scene, a dying scene in Spider-Man 3 with James Franco.
mm,
And instead of making this like a maudlin, all dying scenes, I just think that anything that we're dying is like, what is it that we're fixing in this?
mhm.
And again, energy deaths, so as opposed
Yeah.
to actual deaths. So the idea of, without giving away his personal stuff, is that we'll talk from the point of view of the character. His father is dead and he worshipped him. He's in love with the girl that's the girlfriend of his best friend, and by exposing that, he lost the girl and the best friend.
Mhm.
He doesn't really have anybody. He has nothing else. So he wanted to be out of his pain and not be on this planet anymore. So when he was laying there dying, he was looking at Kirsten Dunst with the guy who's playing Spider-Man, and uh, and he was thanking them in his inner monologue. Thank you for taking me out of my pain. I
Yeah.
need that. That was the
Yeah.
best thing that you could have done for me as friends.
Right.
So it became this beautiful like death scene because it was not tragic. It was dying with dignity. And I want to give people the idea that if whatever bad things happen to you, and this is because you wanted it to, and so it's going to solve something. And that I just told you how it would solve something in his, and as the character, but we are solving something. We always personalize after we figure out what the character wants. Then what we do is we figure out how that makes sense to our personal life so that we can be more integrated. So there's no difference between you and the character.
exactly. Where is that common thread, right?
Yeah.
And that's you can always tell an actor that is just acting, that it's just the words on the page, and then the actor that is has integrated and has become. And one of my favorite villains was Moriarty in Sherlock Holmes, the 2010 one, and I thought he was a delicious villain, um, because he played just enough over the top. He was so sinister, right? And that you kind of liked his evil, if you know what I mean, because he was decadent.
Another example, because I didn't see that particular one, but Silence of the Lambs.
Yes,
Uh,
yes,
He was his objective was to make sure because he broke it down from his childhood, the screaming lambs, and so they both have bonded over commonality of pain, which is we both have screaming lambs. We want to silence them. Her with being pro-law, him being anti-law. So put the same coin, different sides of the
yeah,
same coin. So they're bonding already off of the similar pain. But he has to test her because he doesn't want to get hurt again. So he puts her through tests of fire, saying the most horrible things, and also acting very weird and
mm,
scary. And when she passes the test, then you know that he would never hurt her and that he would
mm,
protect her. This is a guy who kills people and eats them with the nice Chianti and fava.
yes,
You
exactly.
know, so
Don't think Candy ever survived.
this is a movie which is a testament to his acting and why we all got laughed in the theater. It's like he calls her and he says, I'm about to go, about to have someone over for dinner.
Yeah,
So we all know he's going to eat this person.
yeah,
She knows he's going to eat this person, and she smiled. We all laughed, and we're going like, we just laughed at that.
yes.
You know,
Then becomes the question, why are we laughing at that? Yeah,
yeah, but that performance was so driven by an underbelly
yeah,
of true vulnerability based on Anthony Hopkins stuff,
yeah,
and how he needed to test someone so provocatively that when she passed the test, it was like you're in because nobody else has ever passed the test with me.
right.
You know,
Respect, right?
mad respect, yeah.
Yeah. And I think there are some people that have surprised themselves in by going with the pain or going with the struggle of whatever the role is, of going with it, allowing the that thread, that cord between those and the character to become. And I think many of them have kind of surprised themselves. Oh, I was intrigued by the role, I this that, but what the role did for me, what the role revealed in me, it became extraordinary.
That's the whole thing. To me, it's like we're understanding more and more about the human beings, who we are,
Mm,
why we do what we do, and but we have to actors are finding it like in each role that they play, and they
yeah.
kind of grow and there's more information from stuff that they like. I've been working with most of my people I've been working with for years and years, and they still new stuff keeps coming up. Things
Mm,
they forgot or things that they um negated that they had any kind of feelings for because it was easier to negate and deny
yeah.
and or forget than it was to actually to look at that really hurts. But then as time passed by, they became more and more brave. By each time they call it in the acting we're going to the zone.
Hmm.
You go to the zone, it's like things happen, you go like, where'd that come from? And I just
Hmm.
thought it's this thing that I never thought that thing before. And I never did this kind of thing before and never had those thoughts before. But it's like you have to place a lot of work in to create the ability to have impulses.
Yeah.
Kind of like, fly into that zone area where you surprise yourself. And that's always the best. It's like I said, there's no drug or
Mm,
alcohol that's as great as going to the zone.
yeah. Well, it's a question of using it, not losing it, right? You're using how you're feeling. You're not just losing it and denying it. You're using it. And I think for so many people, I didn't know that was in me. I didn't know I was that angry. I didn't know I was that hurt. I didn't know I carried that pain. I didn't know it was so deep, but that role brought it out in them. And it's the same with an author writing a script. It's I've interviewed so many authors, and it's like they say, yeah, they start off with a particular view of where it's going to go, and then the character completely takes the keyboard.
Absolutely. I always say I think with my fingers.
Hmm.
So it's I literally I think I know what my thought is, but I just put my fingers on the
Yeah,
keyboard and they type things I didn't think I was gonna. I thought it was gonna be going this way and went that way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's going the way it should go because that's where you step into allow. And when you allow, that's when the reveal is there.
Yeah, I might go off on something you said a tad earlier, which is about the losing concept. Because
Mm,
I'm all about like trying to get the win, even though you may.
mm,
But people like actors often think if I yell a lot, that means I'm a good actor. And I
mm.
say that when you're that's venting, that's when
Yes.
and I call it when you're losing it, it's in the words, you're
Mm,
a loser. So when
mm.
we're just going, you do this, you do this, you do this, we're not affecting anything. What's happening is the other person's, if they even were thinking they were going to go in your direction, you yelling at them is going like, well, I'm going to dig my heels in and say, screw you, and I'll be
Yes.
anti you. So it's very ineffectual. However, we do it. Human beings do go.
Yeah.
It's not the go-to.
No.
It happens in spite of us. So we
Yeah.
try this tactic and we try that tactic to be effective. And then when none of it's working, we lose it. That's when we
It's the
yell.
exasperation, right? Is the losing it. Mhm.
It's like the frustration. It's just
Mm,
venting. It's expressing your frustration, but that's not an effective feeling. Um,
right.
so I always say, if you're losing it, you're losing.
Mm,
That's why people in real life actually don't yell as much as actors think they do.
hmm.
So what happens, we do try different ways to win that are effective. When it doesn't happen, we yell, but then we regroup. We go like, this isn't working. I don't
Yeah.
like how I feel right now. So then we regroup and try again, this tactic, this tactic. And when that's not working, we start yelling again. But because it's such a big thing to yell at somebody, we think it's happening more often and a larger quantity of it than it
Mm,
actually is.
right.
Video to fight with somebody, you'd say, I didn't really actually yell that much.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I said, tell people, I said, like, do you feel very effective right now? The other person's just like looking at you like you're a loser. Yes, you are, because it's in the words. You're losing it, you're a loser. You
Yeah,
know,
it kind of reminds me of something my mum used to say, when somebody is trying to bully you, it's, turn around to them and say, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. What were you saying? And it doesn't matter what's going on inside of you, is that you're not feeding it, right? And if you don't feed it, hopefully it'll dampen or go or whatever. But when we're looking at somebody on screen or even in life that is still quiet and poignant in what they say, the impact of that is so much more profound than someone frailing and yelling and or shooting or whatever.
here's the thing. It depends on what's going on. Because sometimes those like quiet moments can be too quiet. It depends on what you want. If you
Right.
want to make a point that that person, like you want to make that person laugh, for example, and you want to entertain that person, well, if you quiet and poignant, that's not going to make anybody laugh or be entertained. So you have to do all kinds of insane things to make them laugh and be very physical and behavioral. And sometimes it's like you're by yourself and you're just like, I don't want to like go to that drug that I'm prone to go to when I get this upset. So I'm just going to try to work through it from an interior way because if I start to look at actual movement, I will go to my drug of choice or my
Mm.
so those are moments that make it effective. I'm trying to fix that problem of my going to my go-tos. So it's not that this way of acting is better than it depends on what's the most effective way to get what you want.
Right. And what the role requires also, the character requires, right?
No, that's why I said that you can't follow the things on the page. Whatever you do when you want whatever
Mm.
objective is, so that your unique behaviors and mannerisms are allowed to emerge. And then when you're playing with someone who's like a hyper character type person, you have to find a, trigger those parts of you that make sense to whatever that person's issues are. Like, for example, I have an exercise for if you have play paraplegic. So your legs don't work, but you're perfectly healthy, the person who's playing it. So I have them take their trauma that makes sense to the personalizations they're making, visualize it very, very viscerally, and then press it into the areas that don't work.
Mm,
Just press it and then rethink, have a visceral experience again as you're pressing it into your legs. And you'll find that it would be hard to move and it
mm,
will be organic, but it'll also be the truth of it because if someone can't use their legs, there's trauma involved with that.
exactly.
So I always go for the inside and create outside behaviors. And sometimes, again, they could be very large behaviors, very bold behaviors. I always think like in the name of doing something like coloring outside the lines and not really having rules are meant to be broken kind of realities, is that like go for the boldest choices. And then if you feel like that's not giving you what you need, then we'll go to the quiet guys. But the thing is that I like bold, I like brave, I like it's like going for it and like take a chance that somebody's going to say you're overacting because I call it the
Mm.
overacting police. So they don't exist. Overacting police don't exist. I'm sorry, sir, you've been with us, the overacting jail, and stay with us. And I said, it doesn't exist. So take the chance. Al Pacino once said, and he's a great actor, but he also sometimes can be over the top, but it's always more interesting than someone who keeps it in.
Mm,
He says, I just make a lot of choices and I hope they work.
you're right.
And I think,
Talking about him, I mean, through the years, which have been the actors that really you feel have got it, have really learnt this lesson and really applied it?
all my students. And I
Good,
love
good, good.
them, I love them equally and differently. It's like there's a true love story between us because we share. I don't just ask other people to my students to like just express what's happened to them. I tell them me too's, all my me too's.
Hmm.
Plenty of them because human beings have uh, all over the world have the same issues, the same insecurities, the same fears, the same issues with the parents, same issues with their kids, same issues with their siblings, same issues of molestation, of issues of abandonment. I mean, it's just really interesting, like how it's not different.
Right.
Oh,
It
and
just comes in a different package, right? You know,
culture is what makes it different. The
sorry, the
culture.
culture. Yes,
So what happens,
yes.
negotiate life differently, but the things that are interior that you
Hmm.
that's why I can work with anybody all over the world because I just say things that you would think that maybe just be American because I didn't know that till I started traveling all over the place. Because I've been to every culture, and it's like I mean every single one, but most of them. And I could say anything that's happened to me, and I will have many many people go, me too.
Yes.
Or this is the case with where people have, I mean, it's really to me so fascinating how we do experience them. And this is where cultural anthropology comes in, is because cultures negotiate life through geography, weather, how religions that are based on that same thing, how there are certain languages that don't have a lot of words for power, very few for love. And that's just one example, like everything is different based on like literally geography and
Hmm.
uh and weather. You know?
Yes.
So
The common denominator is the similarities on the inside. And whether it's painted by a different culture, ultimately we will all go through something, right? And very often it's the same as what the next person is going through, or similar. And it's we've been told to suppress, we've been told to hide it, we've been told to buck up, and get over it. And it's like, why can't we use it? And that's the whole point, right? Using it in a way that then becomes productive for you, creative for you, a part of you you don't need to apologize, As Popeye says, I am what I am, right? Take me or leave me. And I
Yeah,
think that that's a good way to be.
absolutely. I just think that people, that's why I said pain is a powerful fuel to overcome and win with. It's
Yes.
powerful. And it's like, but it's also can stop you from doing things too.
It can cripple you or propel you, one or the other.
Exactly.
Hmm. It's all
So
a question of how we use it. I mean, many people choose to stay in the victim mode because either they don't know the way out or they don't want to because that's their role. They like the attention they get. And then for others, it's the embarrassment or the shame, or I'm not going to own it. I'm okay now. And then for others, it's like, this is who I am. How do I use it in a way that actually is empowering? That is inspiring to other people. And everything, of course, comes down to choice. And those choices are going to come at different stages of your life. There is no, it has to be done at this age or done at this time. We have many chapters in our book of life, and it will come when you're ready to see it, to feel it, and release it. Um,
study and make sure that there's options. I mean, I just think that and I think obviously I'm selling a book here, but the point is that in this book, it really is something that I'll give you a quick story. Halle Berry was walking down the beach in Florida, and she saw this girl reading my book, and she said, "Do you like this book?" And she said, the girl said, "Yeah, I love it very much. It's helping me a lot." And she said, "Oh, you're an actress?" And she said, "Oh, no, not an actress." And she said, "Well, what do you do?" And she said, "I'm a doctor." So the
mhm.
idea is that this giving people a way to kind of, but sometimes you have to understand how to do it. And this is like literally everything has formulas to it. So it's like 12 steps. There's
Yeah.
formulas to every part of it, to finding fear, how to find that fear, and the formulas that you can find organic fear, and to understand it, how to play a killer, all this, and a formula that does it. There's math to it, a system to it. And like, how do I stop being a victim? I always say,
Mm,
take the victim out of being a victim. It's something I say all the time.
yeah.
And sometimes you're going to play someone who's a victim, but we don't want to be victimized.
Yes.
So the thing is that how do we do that? Well, it's put out in a very clear way in the book,
Hmm.
how to do that for the character, but it's also useful in how to do it in your real life.
I mean, kind of, we're all playing a role in our life. We're all actors in our own life in many ways, right? And we're going to play many parts. A lover, mother, daughter, son, we play different parts to different people. And the more confident we are with ourselves and how to use our inner selves, the better we are at those roles.
And the more people are attracted to you because they want to be able to say, like, I'm having a problem embracing my flaws, or seeing my flaws as something other than flaws.
Right.
And so, but you seem to be able to, like, you didn't become all of a sudden all confident and like sure of yourself, but you're embracing, saying, well, this is who I am, and if you don't like it, you don't have to be around me. And
But
if
that's the point, isn't it? I mean, like, you can have some of the best actresses or actors in the world, and population absolutely loves them, and other people, no, I don't get it. I don't get it. And that's okay. They're playing to the people that see and feel them. And if you don't, that's okay. So stop looking at the numbers, the award, and just play your role, and you will reach the people that resonate with you.
Oh, but so I'm going to just top that even more, is the idea of when I really decided that this was going to be the case in my own life.
Mm-hmm.
I was 17, and before that, I was like, I had no friends. I had one friend. I mean, then we moved away, and then I didn't have any. And so it was like I was very lonely. I was
Mm-hmm.
shy. I thought everything I had to say was stupid, so I spoke with a whisper. And if I could speak at all, sometimes I had to do a countdown to even speak, like five, four, three, two, one, to say hello.
Wow.
And so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to just go balls to the wall, just being outrageous and crazy. And you'll either love me or hate me, but you won't be able to ignore me. So I thought people, so what happened was but came from a place of no phone calls, nothing, no dates, no anything. So like I became so popular when I did it because bravery is sexy. And
Yes,
to that, because I was being brave, I said, like, I don't care what you think. And as soon as you have that, people want to be around you because it's sexy. When I say sexy, I don't mean like sex. I mean like
right.
it's attractive. It's a
Yes,
magnet.
yes,
And so I found that like the more I just kind of followed like whatever I wanted to do without hurting anybody, of course, you know,
precisely.
yeah, is that people found that they wanted to be around me.
Yes, I became olive oil to get out of, from Popeye, and
Yeah,
it's like I started playing these characters, and I made people laugh, and
yeah,
it was, yeah, maybe a little bit of a facade, but it was me coming out of my shell.
yes.
And I'd moved to a different country. I'd been a very sickly child, so I didn't have many friends, very sheltered. And suddenly I'm in a new world that was full of people to interact with and really kind of no guidance system in the sense of what do I do with these people? Right. And so the old kind of adage, fake it until you make it. And it's like, okay, well, I'm getting a response this way and that way. And then you get to know what people truly do respond to you about. And then you go, well, yeah, this actually is more me. I don't have to play,
Okay.
the fool. I can be this person because it is what people are seeing.
Well, I can be whatever I want to be, is what we want to think. It's like I want people to just have courage. Like
Yeah.
courage is something that we love watching someone do extreme sports.
Mm,
We like people, we see the Olympics and them doing like a really hard
mm,
um, um, routine
yes.
or whatever they're doing, they could die from,
You're right.
And it's like those are people that are taking chances, right? Just
Yes.
they love doing, and they're going to do what they love doing, and so I just think people have to really look at what do you want, and if you don't know what it is, keep looking. I had a friend who was a jazz musician. He went to school at Berkeley, music, which is the hardest thing to get into. He was totally talented. But he realized after he was doing it, and he was working with Dizzy Gillespie. I mean, like, he had a good career.
Mm,
He wasn't happy. So he went back to college. He was in university. He just took classes that were very different from each other. See, what is appealing to me? And so he ended up finding out that what he loved was physics. And then he had to define which part of physics he liked. And then determined he liked nuclear physics.
mm,
So he's a very famous nuclear physicist right now. He's loving doing what he's doing, but he had the balls to say leave something that was giving him money and success in a difficult world. And so he does like doing, he just knew he didn't love it. And
right.
so he went about finding a way to find what it was indeed that he did love. So being proactive.
Hmm.
But my technique is about making choices that are proactive as opposed to waiting and sitting I'm responding to somebody. I'm actually responding and then I'm reacting and I'm going, so that person said this, I don't like what they said, so I'm going to respond this way. I like what they said, so I'm going to respond that way. And so it's like the idea of I'm going to proactively get your love or my power back or whatever your overall objective is or scene objective is. And I'm going to proactively find effective ways to do so. In
Yeah.
the same way, being proactive in your journey of life.
Hmm.
Like if you could sit there and wait for some, hot guy to come to your door and say, I'd like to be your man and marry you and have kids with you. Or you could go out and go on dating apps or go to places that
Explore.
well, get a dog and go to the dog parks. A lot of people,
Yes.
but the thing is, but explore, but be proactive with
Well,
it.
but that's, so many people don't participate in their own lives.
Mm.
Right? I want, but I want someone else to come and do it for me. You have got to be proactive in your own life. You've got to take the steps. And that first leap is that first step, right? And once you start taking those steps, you actually understand you've got much more sure footing than you thought you had, and so many more options than you ever dreamt of. And now it's just about that self discovery. What appeals to me the most right now in this period of life, and what do I want to pursue within it? But if you're not proactive, then you're not going to ever open up those doors.
Yeah, well, they can't be opened by themselves.
No,
They don't
no.
just fly open for you. It's like you,
Yes,
yeah,
there's this beacon of light on the door opening up and inviting you in. No, I'm sorry, mate, you've got to move your feet.
so
Right. So, and it's and that it's that accountability for our own lives. Nobody's here to fix us. Nobody's here to do it for us. We've got to live this life. So if we don't choose our own positive living, if we don't choose to be proactive and be in discovery of who we are, why we are, what we love to do, and how to do it, and whom to do it for, then we're always going to be on the back burner moaning about life instead of participating and living life.
I find when people are like really focused on something that they love, they can do work for hours and hours and hours. Like people say, I have so much energy. I work 7 days a week, sometimes
Mhm.
working 16-hour days, and I travel the world and I do 10-hour, 2 day, 10-hour intensives a day. So it's like a Saturday, Sunday, it would be 10 hours, 10 hours. Then I fly back home from a foreign country.
Mm,
So I'll go there, maybe spend an extra day, but that's all because I have my students here, but I'm always working. But I love what I do. So,
exactly.
and so
Yes. It's
not
not a chore. It doesn't drain you. It energizes you.
a
It's the reason that you get up every day because it's something you love, right? And when you find something you love, you'll get up, even with a cold. You'll get up and do it because it means something to you. And you like what you are contributing to others.
and people tell me that I've changed their lives,
Mhm.
tell me specifically how I did. It's like you say, okay, I chose what I chose well, because
Yeah.
it seems to be affecting a lot of people in a great way, but it also comes back at me. I empower others to empower myself. It's
But
a
that's they don't understand. It's not just giving your energy for someone to suck it up and drain you. The more energy, and I would say the more love you give people, the more it generates love and energy that
yeah.
then comes back to you. And when you actually hit that particular physics of consciousness, then you understand the more you give, the more you get.
And the thing is, when I break down like playing a therapist, it's like a therapist is a therapist because they want to heal others to heal themselves. They
Mm,
always use the field of their practice is the very same issues that they suffer.
right. The mirroring of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so what they do is when their patients are basically themselves, and that's so that they're healing them to heal themselves. And so if I find that works better than just playing the officious psychologist,
Mm,
because oftentimes it's a very boring representation of that, but that's not why those people do it. It's
right.
everybody does it. And I will say that whatever you play in terms of character, we pick the jobs we need to and define, as they define our journeys and our needs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Officer wants to protect and serve, and that from some issues that may have happened to that person when they were a kid, and they watched someone get abused, and they want to protect. They couldn't do it as a kid, but they can do it as an
Yes.
someone who is a high-powered politician, say, who abuses their
Mm-hmm.
um, position, is because they were told that they were a loser, that they couldn't do
They
it.
felt less than. Mm-hmm.
Not felt less than they were told they were
Yes.
by people that they loved and adored and worshipped. And so you're a piece of doo-doo, and you're not worth anything, and
Yeah.
you're a loser, and a constant, being told that that's what you are. You got to prove to that person as an adult that I'm a winner, but 2.0 winner. That
Yeah.
anything goes to win, and that play a character like that, you have to trigger the parts of you that feel like you were told that you were a loser, or that was the message that you were getting, even if they didn't say the words, from somebody. It doesn't have to be from your
Yeah.
parents. It could be from a mate that you had that
Mm-hmm.
always made you feel that way. And so then you utilize that as like everybody that you're oppressing as that high-powered politician or dictator or whatever that you're playing, because those are really interesting roles to play,
Oh, yeah.
is every person that they're oppressing is just a symbol for the person that oppressed you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hmm.
You get
Yeah,
it?
and I think for anybody playing any form of role in life, it's always to remember no matter what role you're playing in the moment, always remember to be able to go home to your core. Where's your core? Your core that centers you, that grounds you, that is your safe place.
Well, I'd like to say sometimes your unsafe place is the most interesting places to go to, because your unsafe place is the place that gives you courage to explore. You need courage to explore, and that then again the journey becomes, right, it becomes adrenaline. There's
Mm,
adrenaline when you start to explore your unsafe places, and adrenaline is like basically uh, your body's manufactured speed.
mhm.
Like your body's manufacturing cocaine, so it's like it's adrenaline is that's why people love roller coaster rides.
Yeah,
They're inspiring, because it brings up your adrenaline, like of Halloween things,
yes,
fear horror movies, that kind of stuff, because it makes your heart go, "Whoa," and the adrenaline goes. We want to explore that because it takes guts to do so, and I want to see someone who has guts. I want to see somebody say, like, I may find some stuff I don't want to find, but then when I find it, I go like, maybe it's not as, it's not going to break me. It's actually make
right.
me stronger. So
But I think also there is the warning: don't become the adrenaline junkie. Yeah, everything has a balance in life, and it's okay to go centered and quiet and absorb what it is that you've learned and observe, like digest it in a way, and then you actually have more courage to go and seek out, something else. So uh, for me, it's always about the balance, because I think that we can sometimes overseek and and kind of lose ourselves on the journey of it without being it.
I think that I call it creating choices, and when we're doing script analysis, it's a roller coaster ride.
Hmm.
So we're gonna like go on a high, and then we're going to like we could feel like what just happened? What do I do about this? And we have our
We
time that
hope
we
that you
have to like
enjoyed the
figure
show.
out what I
There
do
are
with
so
that
many more for
thing
you
that
here
just
on
happened. Okay, and
selfdiscoverywisdom.com.
then I'm going to go back
Just
to
go to
like
the podcast tag at the top there,
exploring and
and you will see
attacking
all the
the
many
unsafe
genres
places again.
and and all
Because we
3,000
don't
shows
we want
ready
to
for
be
your
careful of
listening.
saying, well, that's an
We are
unsafe
here
place,
to
so I'm not
serve
going to
you,
go there.
to help you right?
And
on your
so
journey of life.
we
It's only
can't.
unsafe
And
we know because that you through don't know it.
inspiration,
You
it
fear
begets
it. But when you
invitation.
face your fear
We are
and you
supported
face
by you, the
exactly what
listeners,
it is
and
that's
those that we
making you so
interview.
afraid,
Anything
that
that you
courage
can
then
spare us in
gives you so
donation
much
would be
more supreme
greatly
courage for
accepted,
facing anything
and we do
else
hope
and
that you enjoy the
recognizing what it
next
is
show.
you fear. Because most of the time, people are fearful of what they don't know. If you learn to recognize what that fear is, then that fear doesn't have that control.
Well, and that's very true. And the thing is, that's because I find that when you actually face it, it's like it doesn't, it's not as uh it's not as profoundly awful as you thought it was going to be.
Right.
And that not only did you not break from it, you actually were nurtured by it. It's like,
Exactly.
I'm a survivor. Oh man, that's
Yeah.
fun.
I'm a thriver. And I think, that's the reason why I've done this over the years is the people that did have the courage, found their strength, discovered their abilities and their meaningful purpose and their contribution, back to society. But they made that choice, to find the courage. And I say it's kind of blind, deaf, and dumb in order to see, hear, and feel. And sometimes it's just that trust and taking that leap, right?
Absolutely. And the thing that I always tell people is that if you say, I'm afraid to do this, I'm afraid to do that, in terms of choices you're making.
Yeah.
If I'm afraid I'm going to cry too much, or I'm afraid I'm not going to cry enough, or I'm afraid that people are going to think that it's bad. Or I said, so as soon as you put the I'm afraid to,
Yes.
it's the antithesis of art. Art
Uh,
equals freedom. And
yeah.
so if you're saying I'm afraid to, you're censoring yourself. You're self-censoring yourself, but it's still censorship. And
You're closing the door on yourself.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
censorship is the antithesis, the enemy,
Mm,
freedom. And so since art equals freedom, that I'm afraid to is gonna have to go.
you're right. Again, you do not know what you're capable of doing until you give it a try. And it may not work. That's okay. You gave it a try. There was the courage. Okay, but what aspects did I like about that? I like that. Okay, I'm going to go seek something that has that in it and see what where that takes me. But be wondrous, be in self-discovery, and be willing to explore.
Curious. I always say be,
Yeah,
and
yes.
Alice in Wonderland, the Mad Hatter said, "It's curiouser and curiouser."
Hmm.
That's my favorite, like
Yes.
my words that I love. A curiouser and curiouser. It's not a real word, but it says exactly who I
It says everything
am.
because that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
We are on that journey of self-discovery. We're only here to kind of discover what our contribution is, our meaningful purpose, our calling, or whatever it is. But it's not a stagnancy. Oh, I've discovered I do this, and now I'm just going to stay here. It's like you've discovered you do this, but how do you use it in a way that it can grow, it can inspire, it can seed opportunities for others or enlighten and illuminate? So we owe it not only to ourselves, but we owe it to humanity in itself.
Well, in terms of taking it outside of the acting, writing scripts community, it's like utilizing that. I really want to just go after whatever anything that I'm going to explore. We have to always keep in mind that we don't want to hurt people. That's
Or ourselves.
well, that comes back at you. So the idea of hurting somebody else is like I just think that if we and I think it's people's if people want to hurt themselves, that's up to them. I mean, I'm not going to judge them because that's what they want to do. But hurting other people, because that's not their idea. You know,
Mm.
there's some of the people that don't want that, and so
Especially to make yourself feel better,
exactly.
which is never going to work.
Well, which is also it's going to work for you, but it's going to work for you in an evil way.
Yes.
And if you're playing an evil person, now let's get back to my world.
Hmm.
If you're playing someone like that, that's what you have to is because anything goes in the name
Yeah.
of the means justify the end, and you have to go extreme to
Hmm.
art. In terms of life, when people take these stuff from life, it's all about empowerment. I
Mm.
speak only of empowerment. It's like be empowered by your pain, be emboldened by the things that have happened to you, not destroyed by it. Be know that your flaws are embraceable. They're
Yes.
fabulous, and people will relate to you. So they'll say, "You have the same things that I have." It's called commonality of pain. It's part of the thing that makes people fall in love, whether it's friendship, love, or
Hmm.
kind of love. It's like you always say, I feel like I found the female version of me or the male
Yeah.
version of me because you're feel like you're
Such parallels, such resonance. Yeah.
but it's not because you have both love the color red or
Hmm.
like to go skiing. It's like it's two people who have suffered the same stuff, and you get me in a way that nobody else gets me.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And that is the true beauty of the art of acting,
yeah,
is that reflection of you that you're seeing on the screen. Is that reflection of your story and that courage and that triumph you're still looking for, that solution you didn't know that was there, that triumph in the end of how it ended and how yours could end too or begin. And I think it's that, art mimicking life, life mimicking art. It is that if they can, surely I can. Lois, the inspiration begets invitation. When you're inspired, it's an invitation for you to look in yourself. Could I?
yeah. Hope.
And it's all a question of being proactive in one's own life, right? And reading your book. So, having said that, where do people get the book? And where do people find you? And what have you else have you got to offer them?
Well, I have to offer them. They can. The book is at, of course, Amazon, and Amazon's all over the world.
Hmm.
And also, it's an audio as well.
Hmm.
I voiced it myself, so you'll have my stuff in it. And and then also, of course, bookstores will have Barnes and Noble, places like that. But Amazon is like one thing that's absolute. You can get it there. And then in terms of classes, or to kind of explore more of if you have thought about having that dream, or you want to explore to understand better about yourself, or to be a better salesperson or whatever. thing is we create a connection, with
Yes.
acting is about relationships, creating relationships that the plot facilitates the creating of relationships of importance. And so there's a lot of reasons for classes. The classes, ivanachubbuck.com.
Can you spell that for people listening, please?
If I can. Ivan as in Nancy, CHUB as in boy, B as in boy, UCK at mac.com. So that's iChubbuck at mac.com.
And that also is the ivanchubbuck.com as well. You've also got a YouTube channel as well, so they can kind of find all sorts of things there. But we say a book is a great gift that keeps on giving. And whether you read it for yourself, and then when you're inspired, you want to share that. You want to share this, not something you want to keep to yourself. And I think that if we become more inquiring and curious about what makes us tick, what are the things that's held me back that I'm not aware of, reading things like this, it's like, oh, well, how do I use this? And it gives you permission to, how to use your pain and not impose your pain on others, but how to use it that will propel you forward into a stronger realm. And I think that's for everybody. We all need that. So whether you're an actor or not an actor, or maybe you're a public speaker, or maybe you're a coach, or maybe a solopreneur, having these kind of techniques is just going to help you in any realm of life.
Most people come because they just want to understand better about who they are as people and how better to connect with people. So it's like it's mostly for actors, writers, and directors. But the thing is, I've not been surprised by a lot of people who ended up like deciding that this was really more something I wanted to do for my life.
Right.
There's a lot of good life lessons in the book. But read the book or listen to the book or do both. It's because I think
Yes.
listen and they also read differently. It's a
Yes.
different experience, a different takeaway. So
Mm.
both.
Are you based in New York or
LA.
LA? LA. And of course, you do your classes via Zoom as well, or they have to come to LA?
I have online classes as well, and I have many teachers, different levels, intro, advanced, and master classes. I teach the master classes, but I have some amazing teachers that have been with me for years and years and years, as well as the in studio teachers there, different levels. And so, if you don't live in the Los Angeles area, we have Zoom classes that are different time zones, so that you can if this one doesn't apply for you in terms of middle of the night
Mm.
study, it's like then there will be a time slot that is available because we space it out in that way. Because we have people from Japan in the classes, Australia in the classes, all over Europe in the classes, South America in the classes, and Canada.
Mhm. Yeah, I nearly made a comment there, but caught myself. um, I'm all about, as I said, self-discovery and understanding who we are, why we are, and what our role is in life. And I think that anything that helps us in that journey, we don't only owe it to ourselves, but we owe it to the people we interact with. And we become better in society, therefore make society better and more enriched. And the more enriched we become, the less discord there is going to be. And I think that's something we owe ourselves and we owe our own community.
Absolutely. And life is always giving us challenges.
Yes,
Up to us to like find ways to solve, resolve, evolve, and have ultimate catharsis.
exactly. Thank you so much for sharing with us. This has been extremely enlightening and very revealing. I always say life is an inside out job, and you've got to just be willing to walk the inside to actually understand the outside and not to be afraid of those little demons or those fears, those those insecurities, all of those things that walk with you because they were given to you for a reason, and therefore what are you going to do with it? And once we learn what to do with it in a more progressive way, it then serves us. So why not?
Boom, boom.
Yeah. So thank you so much. And to everyone out there, please remember, life is your journey. It is your responsibility. And there are so many people here that can help you along the path. And Ivana is one of them. And the more you know about yourself, the more you empower yourself, the more you empower other people, and the better the world will be. And it all starts with you willing to either read the book and take the course, or just get in there and start doing it, because be proactive in your own life. Until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tag at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.